Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the Army is accused of very serious failings over the death of a Scottish soldier who collapsed during a fitness test.
I would rather have my son not being classed as a preventable death, and I intend to take out a civil action against the Ministry of Defence for corporate manslaughter.
Also coming up on the programme, with Brussels still to set a date for a Brexit extension, Scottish Government ministers warn that uncertainty damages the economy. Doctors highlighting the links between cancer and alcohol say the more people know about the risks, the better. New hope for Scots living in so-called mobile not spots. Big phone companies have agreed to improve connectivity. And the manager of Scotland's women's football side has admitted that the game at club level here has work to do to improve. Good evening. A coroner has told the Army she has grave concerns about their ability to learn from previous mistakes after an inquest into the death of a soldier from Dumfries and Galloway. Corporal Josh Hoole died after collapsing at the end of an Army fitness test in Wales. The coroner ruled that his death was a combination of factors. She ruled out unlawful killing. Today, Josh Hoole's father said he was now launching his own legal action against the Ministry of Defence for corporate manslaughter. Cameron Buttle reports.
The Army has been training in the hills and valleys of Wales since the Second World War. It's where the renowned Infantry Battle School is based and where soldiers complete gruelling exercises and route marches. In July 2016, a group set off on an annual fitness test, known as a loaded 8-miler. It was one of the hottest days of the year. One of them was Corporal Josh Hoole from Ecclefechan. He was described as a fit, capable and determined soldier. But just a few hundred yards from the end of the test, he collapsed and died. A report in 2017 concluded Josh had died as a result of an undiagnosed underlying medical condition. His father, Peter, a former soldier himself, rejected that and fought for the inquest to be held.
I intend to take out a civil action against the Ministry of Defence for corporate manslaughter. At times, it has felt as if it has been me against the Ministry of Defence.
The soldiers were on an 8-mile run, carrying 25 kilograms of kit and equipment. It was the annual fitness test. During the inquest, Josh Hoole's father said a Ministry of Defence study said the average dropout rate for this kind of test was around 3%. On Josh Hoole's test, there were 41 soldiers. By the time he collapsed, 17, nearly half, had either dropped out or been withdrawn. Josh's death came 3 years after another 3 soldiers died during an SAS selection march. Giving her ruling today, the coroner Louise Hunt said, "The failure of the Army to learn from its previous mistakes is very concerning for me." She added, "Quite simply, it has to change." The Ministry of Defence said Josh's death was a tragedy and its thoughts were with the family and friends. A spokesman added it would study the recommendations from the inquest and it was grateful for the suggestions from the family on how heat illness can be better detected. Cameron Buttle, Reporting Scotland, Brecon.
Scottish Government ministers say continuing uncertainty over Brexit is damaging Scotland's economic prospects. The warning came as EU ambassadors agreed in principle to extend the Brexit timetable, but without setting a precise date at this stage. This from our political editor, Brian Taylor.
Get ready. Scotland's enterprise agencies gear up for Brexit, including no deal. Scottish ministers don't want that and don't rate the Prime Minister's plans.
Well, of course, the Prime Minister is trying to bribe UK parliamentarians with the prospect of a general election if there's more time to consider the withdrawal agreement. As I say, his deal is damaging to Scotland's economy anyway. Now, we don't support this Prime Minister, we don't support this Tory government, we don't support Brexit, so of course we want to return to the people as quickly as possible.
Get steady. In Brussels, EU ambassadors agree the sensible thing to do is delay Brexit beyond October the 31st, but no new timetable yet.
What I can tell you is that the EU27 have agreed to the principle of an extension, and work will now continue in the coming days.
Go.
We have to accept we won't be able to leave on October the 31st.
Sajid Javid, the Chancellor, reckons that means the Halloween target date is a goner. Maybe he should have consulted his boss first.
Of course, October the 31st is still possible. We could leave on October the 31st.
So he's wrong.
Unfortunately, it depends on what the EU says. We will give us some extra time to get this thing done if and only if the Labour Party will agree to an election on December the 12th.
Scottish ministers have also challenged the Prime Minister over his view that Holyrood has no role in scrutinising the Brexit bill.
We've got Mr Corbyn here, and there's only one thing to ask him today. What about a general election?
But there's uncertainty for Labour too. Perched on the sofa, Jeremy Corbyn tells Richard and Judy he's up for an early election, but only if no deal is absolutely ruled out.
So my position is we've got to get no deal taken off the table first, because it would be catastrophic for jobs and businesses in Britain.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Here's Christmas past in Scotland. Commercial bustle, family fun. But what if there's an election in mid-December? Could this be Christmas yet to come?
Oh, Brian Taylor joins me now. Brian, the next stage for Brexit is on Monday in the Commons, but Holyrood's got its own difficulties as well.
It does indeed. The Scottish Parliament has a role because part of the Brexit bill considers and affects legislation that's devolved to Holyrood. Holyrood has a role in scrutinising that and giving consent to it. How do they know that? They know that because the UK government wrote to them and said so. Boris Johnson doesn't appear to take that view, and Scottish ministers, Mike Russell, the Brexit Secretary, is writing to the UK government tonight trying to get the situation clarified. There's another concern for Scottish ministers. The budget, the UK budget planned for November the 6th looks now as if it's off, looks now as if it's postponed with no date for the future. Derek Mackay cannot do his sums on Scottish tax and spending until he knows that UK framework. But of course, as you're right, you're absolutely right, the focus now is on the Commons on Monday. Can there be a deal that allows slightly prolonged scrutiny of the Brexit bill in return for a general election? Right now, it doesn't look particularly likely. And I know it's a dreadful thing to say, but each day I appear to be saying the next stage will be the crucial one. This time, eventually, I might be right.
Thank you very much, Brian Taylor. The Health Secretary says she still has some anxiety about getting medicine into the UK after Brexit. Jean Freeman was speaking during a visit to the National Distribution Centre for the NHS. She says the Scottish Government is continuing to prepare for a no-deal Brexit. Katie Hunter reports.
This warehouse is a crucial cog in the NHS machine. It stores medical devices and more mundane everyday essentials used in hospitals. The NHS in Scotland is increasing its stock of some medical equipment ahead of Brexit, but the supply of medicine itself is controlled at a UK level.
I'm confident once the supplies reach the UK, then we've got the right arrangements and relationship with the pharmaceutical companies and with the distribution network that supplies will then travel through equitably. But I retain some anxiety about getting them into the UK at all.
The Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh has gone even further, saying it has deep concerns about supplies of medicine in light of Brexit. This warehouse holds more than 9,000 items. Bosses have doubled the stockpile of around 3,000 of the most used products. The supplies held here go to 150 locations across Scotland.
So what we have here is constantly fluctuating. So whether products start to be used more often or less often, we will adjust our stock levels accordingly. So the stock behind us, the longest that was set on the shelf is around about 4 weeks. So every 4 weeks, everything you see behind us will have been delivered to hospitals. In terms of our preparations then, we've done exactly the same. We've looked at those items and tried to understand what the demand would be to make sure that our ability to supply remains unchanged.
The stock on these shelves may move on within 4 weeks. Who knows if the Brexit debate will do likewise? Katie Hunter, reporting Scotland.
I'll just let you know we did put Jean Freeman's comments to the UK Department of Health, but we're still waiting for a response. A medical campaign group has published a guide for doctors highlighting the links between alcohol consumption and cancer. Scottish Health Action on Alcohol Problems wants the guide to prompt discussion with patients about how much alcohol they drink and what that might mean for their cancer risk. Gillian Sharp reports.
Friday afternoon in Glasgow, and for many it's time to ease their way into the weekend with a chat and a few drinks. So is a risk of cancer anything which crosses their minds?
I suppose it is a bit of a worry, yeah, but I don't know a lot about it for it to concern me that much, no.
As long as you do things in moderation, I think you've got to kind of try and enjoy life, make the most of it, but also be aware of the risks that come with excessive indulgence in alcohol, tobacco, whatever it is.
Most people appreciate the risks. I've probably done the damage to my body in the past, so what's done has been done.
A group of doctors says with more than a quarter of alcohol-related deaths in Scotland due to cancer, it's time to talk more about drinking and cancer risks.
Let me put it this way. If you're a lady drinking a bottle of wine a week, that's the equivalent of smoking 10 cigarettes a week in terms of your increased cancer risk versus a non-smoker or a non-drinker. I think people do understand that smoking is bad for you. It's not like you can smoke a few cigarettes and that's fine. More is worse than less, but none is better. And the same applies to alcohol when you're talking about cancer.
Alcohol may be only one of many factors in whether someone develops cancer, but medics say at least this is something you can do something about. Their guide pulls together research on suggested links between alcohol intake and the risk of developing various cancers, including mouth, liver and breast. As far as those risks go, doctors say there is no safe level of drinking. It rises with the amount. The more people understand this, the better. Gillian Sharp, reporting Scotland.
The UK's 4 biggest mobile operators have agreed to work together with the UK government on a plan to improve 4G connectivity in rural parts of the country. A recent report from the regulator Ofcom found that 18% of Scotland's geographical area has no 4G coverage with any mobile operator. Only 41% is covered by all mobile operators. Ian McInnes has been finding out how a deal like this could change the lives of Scots in so-called mobile not-spots.
We are in many ways more connected now than ever before, and the technology is developing quickly from 3 and 4G to some places now trialling 5G. But it's not the same story everywhere. Much of rural Scotland still has pretty patchy mobile coverage. For example, here I have 2 mobile phones, 2 different service providers, but little or no signal.
I'd say for the last 6 years at least, constantly, at least 3 times a year, we have problems with our mobile signal here.
Then when people get lost, we can send them a little text message, and if they had a good 4 or 5G network coverage, it would actually give us their location.
The mobile phone signal on Tiree is very variable. It alters from area to area on the island.
Our broadband and mobile reception are both atrocious. How you're supposed to run a business in rural areas like this in Scotland today beggars belief.
I frequently travel to visit other island communities through my work and find that the poor quality and sometimes complete lack of mobile coverage to be a barrier. I often find that I have many wasted hours that I could have filled more productively if I'd been able to make calls or send emails.
But this new deal could see the end of all that. It's hoped not spots, as they're known, could become a thing of the past.
The Highlands and other rural areas are lagging behind. If you lag behind, why would a business want to stay? It wants to be where it can do business easily and effectively. It will move. So we have to catch up. We have to retain the businesses we've got. We've got to attract more new businesses here. We've got to retain our young people. We've got to encourage more people here. You can only do that if you've got good digital.
The deal aims to get 4G coverage to 95% of the UK by 2025. But people across parts of rural Scotland want reliable connections even more quickly. Ian McInnes, reporting Scotland in Inverness.
You're watching BBC Reporting Scotland. A reminder of tonight's top story. The Army is accused of very serious failings over the death of a Scottish soldier who collapsed during a fitness test. And still to come, the manager of Scotland's women's football side has admitted that the game at club level here has work to do to improve. Many children who are entitled to free school meals are not taking them every day. That's one of the key findings in a report about the school meal service across Scotland. Campaigners want to encourage more children to take school dinners, arguing they're a healthier option which can save families money. Our education correspondent Jamie McIver has been looking at the findings.
Well, Sally, over the past few years, there's been a big drive to increase the number of children choosing a school meal. Now, researchers have taken a full look at how well used the service is nationally. They found that across Scotland, just over half of pupils have a school dinner on a typical day. Not surprisingly, youngsters who are entitled to a free meal are more likely to take school dinners, but a large minority don't always have one. In primary schools, just over 3/4 of eligible children typically have one, while in secondary schools the number falls to around 60%. So why are some youngsters or their families saying thanks, but no thanks? At this school, they try to promote school meals as a positive choice, while cashless payment systems mean pupils don't know who gets a free meal and who pays. The lunch menu is meant to be healthy and a cost-effective option for all. Amy used to take a packed lunch, but now prefers a school meal.
I'm actually performing better in the afternoon. I'm not as tired in the afternoon either, which is quite good, 'cause I can get on with my schoolwork.
But Kyle isn't convinced. He usually spends his lunch money at nearby shops and thinks freedom of choice is important.
It's not because I dislike the school meals, it's more because I like their meals better. The schools seem to have a really strong, healthy foods policy, and I feel like that could be relaxed a bit.
Natalie usually has a school meal that has ideas for practical improvements.
I guess the lining up can be a bit of a barrier because it takes so long, but there's always the chance that you can just stand in line with your friends.
Researchers commissioned by school meal providers are keen to know what can be done to improve the uptake.
What you have are some personal choice. I mean, there are some pupils that are choosing of their own free will not to have that free school meal. But I think there's also some things that we can do in schools to make that service work more effectively. We can think about the dining environment, we can think about the timetabling, even of the school day, we can think about how that service is delivered.
There are many reasons why some want to encourage more youngsters to take a school meal. They argue healthy school meals can play a part tackling childhood obesity and help family budgets. The report begs questions about the way forward to increase the uptake, and naturally there's concern for low-income families. But there will always be good reasons why some children and parents prefer other options. Sally.
Thanks very much, Jamie. Edinburgh's Josh Taylor says he's in the best shape of his life ahead of his super fight against the American Regis Progress in London tomorrow night. It's the final of the World Boxing Super Series and a chance for one of the boxers to unify the IBF and WBA super lightweight titles. The pair topped the bill at the O2 Arena in a match-up that some say is one of the best for many years. A warning that the report from our sports news correspondent, Chris McLaughlin, contains flash photography from the start.
They say there's nothing between them, but there's everything to lose. Two world champions, winner takes all.
It's what I've been dreaming to do as a kid growing up, dreaming of becoming a professional fighter and being involved in these massive fights. It's what almost every fighter dreams of, and I'm being part of it, so I'm just relaxed and really enjoying it and soaking it all in.
The World Boxing Super Series is designed to uncomplicate what has become a pretty complicated sport. It's the best versus the best for the Muhammad Ali Trophy. The man from New Orleans is the favourite. The WBA champion is 30 years old, had a total of 24 fights, won them all, and knocked out 20 of his opponents. Facing him, Edinburgh's Josh Taylor. The IBF champion is younger, but he's had less fights, won them all, knocking out 12 along the way. It's a mouth-watering matchup.
35 years I've been in this business, and this is only the third time that two unbeaten world champions, one of them British, have fought on British soil. This doesn't happen.
But it is happening. The man who stands in the way of Taylor's dream is considered to be one of the very best pound-for-pound boxers in the world.
None of my 24 fights matter. None of his 15 fights matter. The only thing matters, as far as legacy-wise, is this fight right here.
You were not having his sunglasses up there, were you?
No, I mean, it's pouring down outside and he's indoors and he's got his sunglasses on, so who does that? Only idiots.
And this is where all of the trash talking stops come Saturday night, the O2 Arena. Yes, hype and boxing go hand in hand, but this does feel different. It feels different for boxing, it feels different for Josh Taylor, because it's the chance for him to go from here to here and become a true great of the sport. Chris McLaughlin reporting Scotland in London.
The manager of the Scotland's women's football side has admitted that the game at club level here has work to do to improve. But Shelley Kerr believes the women's club scene in Scotland does have a future. While the appetite for the national side appears to be growing, especially on the back of the summer's World Cup, it doesn't appear to be matched at club level. Jane Lewis has more.
Shelley Kerr announcing her Scotland squad for this month's Euro qualifier against Albania. The campaign got off to a flyer with an 8-0 win over Cyprus, watched by over 6,000 spectators. The mood around Kerr's squad is positive, with the appetite for the national women's side on the up. But domestically, can the same be said?
There's no doubt domestically that we've still got work to do, but domestically, of course, we have got a duty to try and increase the standard across the board, whether that's facilities or whether it's on the pitch. And yeah, I definitely think it's got a future. We need to make sure that the structure is right, the competition levels are right as well.
Last month's Scottish Cup semi-finals, involving 3 of the country's top sides, attracted a combined crowd of just over 500. While Glasgow City, sealing their 13th Scottish women's title on a public park midweek, drew heavy criticism.
It's up to the clubs themselves to make, perhaps the top clubs, make their team semi-professional, which Rangers say they will definitely do from January next year. Celtic are talking about full-time but haven't as yet announced their plans. But that's what needs to happen, Jane. It needs to come from the clubs themselves.
You know, 28.1 million people in the UK watched the World Cup. They watched it because it was accessible, it was on their TV, it was there for them, they were reading about it in the news. You know, if we don't, and women's football's shown that world over, if we make it accessible, people do go and watch it. And I think in Scotland we've not quite managed to get that accessibility yet, and that I think is due to, as I say, the promotion and marketing and assistance that we get in that regard.
So change is required, and with an SFA task force now looking at every aspect of the women's game, that could be on its way. Jane Lewis, reporting Scotland.
The Scottish Rugby Union expects Glasgow head coach Dave Rennie to leave once his contract ends next summer. Rennie, who's been in charge at Scotstoun since 2017, is expected to take over as Australia head coach. The SRU says it started the process of finding a replacement. A photography project has highlighted the extent of ice loss from Iceland's glaciers. A team from Dundee University and the University of Iceland compared photographs of the Vatnajökull ice cap taken in the 1980s with present-day drone images. Thousands of pictures were taken, which were then transformed into a high-res 3D model of the terrain. Now it's time to find out what's happening on BBC Scotland at 9 o'clock.
Hello, coming up on the programme, there's a stark warning for parents tonight that they are oblivious to their children being targeted on social media by drug dealers. We'll be speaking to one father who lost his daughter to drugs.
Have you ever given money to a charity online where there are loads of fake platforms out there? We'll tell you how to spot them.
And it was quite a night for Celtic and Rangers in Europe last night. We'll be taking a look back at their impressive performances.
Plus, a new single from Dolly Parton that's just dropped.
Looking forward to it. See you at 9.
Let's take a look now at the weather with Christopher.
Sally, thank you. Hello, good evening to you. Well, it was a cold, frosty start for many of us this morning. Some sunshine around. Didn't last long, though, in places with clouds streaming in from the south, turning things all a bit grey. Rain followed as well. That's still with us across the south, but clearing. Blustery showers in the north and northwest with coastal gales, but many areas becoming dry eventually. Once again, quite a chilly night. Town and city temperatures not far off freezing. And that takes us nicely to the weekend, which, by the way, will be pretty chilly. We have low pressure up towards the north, just starting to edge over towards Norway. High pressure trying to build in from the Atlantic, but in between, it's a cold northerly wind. So to start the day tomorrow, plenty of sunshine through central Scotland. Any cloud in the south will clear. The sun should come out for you. But across the Highlands and Islands, a rash of showers on blustery winds. And through the course of the afternoon, those showers starting to extend their way further south and east. So if you get off to a dry and sunny start tomorrow, expect a few showers to come your way later on. Temperature-wise, around about 7 to 9 Celsius is similar to today. So despite any sunshine, still a cool feel, and certainly those showers wintry over the hills and high ground. Across parts of Moray and Aberdeenshire, you'll see the best of any prolonged sunshine, but certainly in the north and northwest and the Northern Isles, frequent blustery showers. And here's the thing, if you're hill walking or climbing, those showers will be wintry, falling as snow on the mountain tops. Add on the strength of wind and a significant wind chill is likely. If you catch a shower, whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions are likely as they pass through. So some challenging conditions on the tops tomorrow. The rest of the afternoon into the evening, those showers still with us, continuing to extend their way further south and east. And then for Sunday, the focus of the winds now across parts of the north and northeast. So a raw feeling day across northern Aberdeenshire. Elsewhere though, the central belt and the south, some sunshine, generally dry, lighter winds and temperatures up a notch. Afternoon highs here 11 in the north though, still quite chilly, certainly across the Northern Isles. And as we head overnight, Sunday into Monday, with clear skies and the winds easing down, it's going to be a cold one. Temperatures in many towns and cities sub-zero. Next week, high pressure to the northwest starting to exert its influence, so a lot of dry, crisp and sunny weather by day, but chilly and frosty by night. And one final thought, this weekend don't forget clocks go back 1 hour overnight, Saturday to Sunday. That's the forecast.
Thank you. Very useful reminder, as always. Now, let's look at tonight's main news again. The families of 3 young people from Vietnam say they could be among the 39 people who were found dead in a refrigerated container in Essex. The brother of 26-year-old Farm Charmi says she has not been heard from since Tuesday night when she sent desperate messages saying she was dying and could not breathe. Today, police arrested 2 more people. A coroner has ruled out unlawful killing after an inquest into the death of a soldier from Dumfries in Galloway, but said she has grave concerns about the Army's ability to learn from previous mistakes. Corporal Josh Hoole died after collapsing at the end of a fitness test near Brecon in Wales. And that is Reporting Scotland. Graham will be here with the late bulletin just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, from everyone on the team right across the country, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.